Thanks for inviting me. Good evening to one and all. So, we can never underestimate the importance of a dynamic and a resilient banking system. The exceptional services offered by our banks are indisputable today. Because unlike a few years back, when like today, large number of consumers, including those from semi-urban and rural areas, are able to easily access banks today. And moreover, like if we, with the advancement of science and technology, if you see, like we need not carry money today wherever we go. Plastic money is available everywhere, and also like our access to mobile banking and internet banking, like we need not go to the banks to actually transact, and all these are advantages. With this, the responsibility of the banks increases, and with their need to be more responsive in the role they play in the society, banks also need to be more consumer friendly. They have to be more efficient in the services that they offer, and they should be beyond reproach. Unfortunately, this is not happening, and many a times we come across complaints. There are many harrowing experiences faced by consumers, and which actually make them lose faith in the system. So what I thought was today, like I will discuss a few of the complaints that I have handled in the past, that will give you an insight to the various issues faced by consumers, and which will also make the session more interactive. So I would like to start with one complaint, a complaint of Mr. Aryan, who came to us. Like he had taken a loan from a bank, he had settled the loan also, all the documents were with the bank. And he was asking, after settlement, he was asking the bank to return the documents. Due to some reason, the bank refused to return the documents, and they failed to respond to his letters to the bank, asking to return the originals, including the title deed. It was a housing loan, so including the title deed and all, they refused to return. And this went on for 1 year, and then not knowing what to do, he approached us for assistance. As you will know, the consumer dispute redressal agencies adjudicate upon complaints relating to deficiency in service, and a service as defined under the Consumer Protection Act will also include banking services. So if a consumer is aggrieved, if a consumer of a bank is aggrieved by the bank's services, then he has the option to approach the consumer forum to seek redress. So in this Aryan's case, what happened was there was an earlier decision of the National Commission in Dosan Chemicals versus Union Bank of India, where the National Commission said that if the documents were not, if the original documents were not returned even after the settlement of the loan amount, then it was held to be deficiency in service, and compensation should be awarded. In that particular case, what had happened was, like, the bank had returned the original documents after the complainant went to the consumer forum, filed a case. When the case was pending in the state commission, the bank had returned the documents. But this complainant, he went on an appeal to the National Commission asking for compensation. What the National Commission said was, even if the documents were returned, earlier the complainant had undergone mental trauma and all because of the bank retaining the documents, and therefore he was liable for compensation, and rupees 50,000 was awarded as compensation. So we took this case as a sample, and we quoted this and sent a letter to this bank, to Aryan's bank, and told them that if they didn't settle, then we will be advising him to go to the consumer forum and to file a case. Subsequent to which only the bank responded, asked for time to identify the documents, to search for it or whatever, wherever they had placed or whatever they had done with it, they asked for time. At least that communication came from the bank only after this representation from us, and after 2 or 3 months, like, they handed over the documents to him. So this was one instance. And there was another complaint where the senior citizen, he had fixed deposits with the bank. It was a joint account. It was in his name, his wife's and his sister-in-law's. What happened was, his wife died, so he went to the bank to hand over the death certificate and to know the status of the deposits. Actually, it was a casual inquiry that he made about the status of the deposits. And he was surprised to find that his sister-in-law, without his knowledge, had included her brother's names as well in that account. And it became a very big problem for him. Actually, the bank, when it was a joint account, without his permission, they could not have done anything about it. But without his knowledge, the bank had included names of other people in that account, and so all his retirement benefits he had actually deposited, and he landed him in big trouble. He sent out a legal notice. The bank failed to respond to that, and so we advised him. Only later he came to us actually, and we normally do what the legal notice. If he had approached us earlier, we would have sent that notice. But since he had already approached a lawyer and sent out a legal notice, we advised him to go to the consumer forum straight away for deficiency in service. And there was another instance, one Mr. Ravi Krishnan. Actually, he had taken a loan from a personal loan from a bank a few years back, had settled it. He was a defaulter for a certain period, but after that he settled that loan, and he also had the receipt given by the collection agent, which carried the endorsement that it was towards full and final settlement, and he had the receipt with him. After 4 years, the bank sent a notice to him asking him to repay to settle, saying that there was a balance of 63,000 rupees and that he had to settle it immediately, failing which they will be taking legal action and all that. So he actually wrote to the bank, he attached a copy of this receipt also and told them that he had this, and he had settled the account and 4 years back, and so there was no need for him to pay. But the bank refused to see reason. They said, no, we will not accept this, and whatever is endorsed in the receipt will not be taken into account, and only if there was a communication from us that it was towards full and final settlement, we will agree. Since you don't have that letter from us, we will not agree, and you will have to pay the 63,000 rupees. So he again wrote to the bank, and they didn't respond to it at all, and then he came to us. We also wrote to the bank. We told them, see, he has already made the payment and all this, and he also has this receipt with him which proves that it is towards full and final settlement, and they were authorized collection agents of the bank, so which stands good, which is legal for that whatever that paper had. But they refused to see reason. They said no, he had to pay, and then we advised him to approach the banking ombudsman. So he represented the matter to the banking ombudsman. He sent an email to the banking ombudsman's office, and before the ombudsman could respond, he also marked a copy to the bank. Before the ombudsman's office could respond, the bank sent a communication to him saying that the issue was closed, that he did not pay anything. So this was one other issue that was another kind of issue that we had dealt with. And another complaint was of Mr. Chandrasekhar's. What happened was, Mr. Chandrasekhar the bank had asked him to submit the KYC details to the bank. So he submitted as was demanded, the know your customer details, and after a few days the bank again wrote to him and said that he had not submitted the KYC details. So he said he had already submitted, but the bank said that they did not receive it, and he was asked to submit once again. So he submitted the KYC details once again. Despite this, what the bank did was, he didn't know anything. What happened was, the interest warrant that he was supposed to get from the company was returned, and the check that he had given to his apartment association was bounced. Then when he went to the bank and questioned this, they said that they had blocked his account because he did not submit the KYC details. The second time when he submitted, the bank had given an acknowledgement of having received it. So he told them that you had acknowledged that I have already submitted, but the problem is they don't want to listen to what people have to say. So they refused to listen to what he had to say. They kept repeating whatever they said. They said, no, you didn't submit. And as per the RBI guidelines also, if the KYC details are not submitted, after informing the consumer, the banks have the right to block the account. But he was not informed was one thing. The other was that he had already submitted twice. And despite this, the bank went ahead and they blocked his account. So he wrote to the bank 3-4 letters. Then he came to us. We also represented on his behalf. The bank sent a letter saying, due to security reasons, we cannot divulge personal information of customers with you. Therefore, we request you to request that customer directly deals with us. So we again had to write to the bank and say, we are not asking you for any information. We are only telling you that what you did was wrong. So you have to revert, whatever damage has been done, you have to adjust. Whatever you do, you will have to do. But again, same communication from the bank saying that due to security reasons, they will not be able to divulge information with us. Then we advised Mr. Chandrasekhar to go to the court, Consumer Forum. He went and filed the complaint and we guided him through the course actually. For each stage he brought after drafting the complaint, though we don't represent matters, like we guided him, he drafted the complaint, he came to us and then he went filed. And each hearing he will come and take our guidance and all. And now the forum recently, the forum has awarded a compensation of 15,000 rupees to Mr. Chandrasekhar. So this was one complaint that we handled. And there was another complaint where I was just discussing with her also. There was a senior citizen who didn't operate his account for 1 year or so. He had a savings account. He was maintaining a minimum balance, whatever was required with the bank. And after 1 year, when he went to the bank to operate his account, he found that there was a negative balance in his account. So he was surprised. He went to the manager and asked him, questioned him why there was a negative balance in his account. The manager said that the minimum balance, they had raised the minimum balance that was to be maintained in the account, which was not communicated to him earlier. So when he questioned this, he was told that it was already put up there on the bank's notice board and that it was his duty to have verified that. So actually there is a decision of the Consumer Forum of a state commission of Andhra Pradesh, I think, if I'm right, which says that banks should communicate individually to each consumer about all these, whatever changes or whatever modifications they are bringing to their regulations or rules or whatever, they are supposed to individually communicate. But this bank had failed to do this. We had to mention this and write to the bank and tell them, see, this is what there is a decision of the forum of the commission. It says this and therefore you should have communicated. There is deficiency in service. All this we had to point out. Subsequent to which they actually reversed the amount from his account. So this was one other case. And there was another case actually very interesting. Sujanita, when she was in college, she had taken a credit card. And she had defaulted at a point of time. She didn't pay regularly. After some time, she had settled it. She landed in a job and then she had settled it. This happened in 2002. After 10 years, last year, the bank raised demand for 5 lakhs. She suddenly received an email saying she owed 5 lakhs to the bank. She was surprised because she knew that she had settled, but she didn't have any of the papers because it was 10 years and she didn't have any of the papers with her. She immediately wrote to the responded to them saying that she had settled everything long back and that she owed them. And the bank owed them nothing. The bank responded saying if she didn't pay this 5 lakhs, she will be reported, they will make a negative report in the CIBIL, her credit, and she will not be able to go for a future loan and all that. So she approached us for assistance. She wanted to know what she should do. So we advised her to go and get the credit report from CIBIL, her credit report. she applied to CIBIL and got her credit report. There, like it did not show as pending, it was shown as settled. So then we advised her to write to the bank again and say when the CIBIL report said that it was settled, why they were demanding 5 lakhs. And she wrote to the bank and asked an explanation for this. The bank did not say anything. They just sent another mail saying asking her to pay 20,000 rupees. They said if you pay 20,000 rupees, then we will change this settled to closed. Actually, I'm sure you will be knowing this credit report. There will be 3 types of entries there. One is closed. If your repayments are prompt, then you will find this closed there, and they are towards loans or whatever. And the second is settled. Settled is if you were a defaulter, you approach the bank, ask for a settlement, and you arrive at some amount and you pay that. Then they mention as settled. And the next is pending. If you remain a defaulter, it will reflect as pending in your credit report. So even if it is mentioned as settled, if you have to go for a future loan, that becomes a problem because your credit score will be less. Only if it is mentioned as closed, your credit score will be high and you will be eligible for a future loan. So they told her this. They told her if you pay this 20,000, we will change the settled to closed, and so you will be eligible for future loans. Otherwise, your credit score will continue to remain less. And she was afraid because she wanted to go for a housing loan and all that. So she preferred to pay this 20,000 and close the account. So we couldn't do anything about it. We asked her to go ahead with that. That was one other complaint which we dealt with. And there was another complaint. One is Martangi. She had a locker with the bank and she was paying the annual maintenance fee and all that. And she had a few KVPs in the locker along with a few euros which she had kept there inside. Like once when she went to operate her locker, when she opened it, she was surprised to find that there were only bits of paper inside. Then only she noticed that it was full of white ants and everything was destroyed. So she represented the matter to the bank, and the manager, he acknowledged, but he didn't do anything about it. He just listened to her, he said sorry and all that, offered her another locker, but that was that. So how he was going to compensate her for whatever she had lost, he refused to answer to that. But there is a decision of a consumer court again, the State Commission of Uttar Pradesh. Actually, in a similar case, has awarded compensation to the consumer, depending on whatever was inside, the compensation was awarded. So this we had to quote and we had to tell the bank that this was the compensation, there has been an earlier decision, and if the bank did not compensate her, then she will be advised to approach the Consumer Forum for Justice, and subsequent to which the manager offered her a compensation which she also agreed to, and the issue was settled. Like this, there are numerous complaints which we are dealing with, and we have dealt with, and now I think it would be nice if I can hear your grievances or issues, whatever you have faced. I think it would be more interesting and interactive.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.